for you. Some news regarding the coaching searches to pass along. This from Albert Breer. The Bills are interviewing new Chargers offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel for their head coaching job today. McDaniel spent the last 4 years in the AFC East as Dolphins head coach, of course. And if he doesn't get that job, which, by the way, I think it's going to go to Brian Daboll. I think Brian Daboll is going to be the new Bills head coach. But again, so if you're wondering why there hasn't been any announcement out of L.A. with the Chargers, because remember on Tuesday, McDaniel said, yeah, no, I'm not going to come to Cleveland to interview for your head coaching job because I'm just going to go ahead and take this job with the Chargers. But all of a sudden now Mike McDaniel is perfectly happy speaking with the Buffalo Bills. Again, they have Josh Allen and the Browns do not, okay? That's what it all comes down to, okay, is you have Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, and Deshaun Watson. So keeping you on the old itinerary there. Let's see.
Yeah, but
those three guys are Justin Herbert.
To an extent, though, you are driving me a little bit crazy with like some of the just like overall negativity about the search in general, because like you've been saying you don't want any of these candidates. Like none of these candidates do anything for you. But we wanted to move off of Kevin Stefanski, right? We had to because he won 8 games over the last 2 seasons. So you've got to try something different. Like you can't just disparage every single candidate that walks through the door.
Listen, none of these guys excite me, all right? If you hire Jim Schwartz, I think it's a very temporary hire. It's a 1 to 2 year hire. Okay?
I'd agree, and that's probably not good because that's not where you're at right now.
So that does nothing for me as much as I love Jim. Just keep him as the defensive coordinator.
I'd agree with that.
I don't know about Grant Udinski. I don't know if he's the next Sean McVay 2.0. Same thing with Nate Shieldhouse. You know what I know about Nate Shieldhouse? That Sean McVay hands him the game plan and says, get this ready for the team meeting for me.
But don't you think, like, weren't people, like, throw a team out, Jacksonville, weren't people in Jacksonville probably saying the same thing about Liam Cohen? That he had been an offensive coordinator for a couple of years in Tampa. Baker had a few good years for him, and then he was the next Canales, who got hired after being a Tampa Bay offensive coordinator. And he's had instant success with the Jaguars. He turned that thing around. They had the 5th pick. Now they've got the 24th. We know it well.
This franchise does not need an up-and-comer. They need a shapeshifter.
I disagree with that.
They need a complete culture changer. So they need somebody that's going to come in and flip that building on its head. They need somebody who has the cachet to tell people, get out of my office. Get off the practice field. We're about football here. That's it.
Well,
we're not about uniforms. We're not about stadiums. We're not about social media. We're not about headlines. We are about winning football. That is it. And I'm going to tell you right now, Grant Udinski doesn't have that resume. Nate Shieldhouse doesn't have that resume. Jim Schwartz, he's the closest, but he doesn't really have the resume either. Okay? That's what this organization needs.
So who would do that? Like you would then like Robert Saleh? You're looking for a guy like that?
I did not want Robert Saleh.
So who would it be? They had an opportunity to hire a guy like that in 2019, and it was Greg Williams.
Here's what Robert Saleh, as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, would have been like. Oh, Deion Sanders, it's so great to see you. It's an honor and a privilege to have your son here for me to coach your son. I am just so thankful for the opportunity.
But you're not answering my question. Who's then this ultimate culture macho guy that's going to go into Bree?
Should have been John Harbaugh. They should have told John, whatever you want to do, it's yours. Organization's yours. The GM is yours. Anyone on the coaching staff is yours. Anyone in and out of the building is yours. We don't have to sit here for 3 days negotiating the fine print in your contract like you had to do with the New York Football Giants to minimize the general manager. It is yours. Come in here and fix it all.
Yeah, but that didn't. He was always going to go to New York.
Yeah, I know. But that's what this organization needs.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
No, because you can push Grant Udinski around. You can push Nate Shieldhouse around. You're going to be able to push Jim Schwartz around. You're going to be able to push whatever other candidate they dig up around. That's my point. You need somebody with the resume that can tell people, get out of my office. Okay, or you can fire me.
At some point, we have to get real about this, though, and that of the candidates that are known, that guy does not exist. So we have to get real about the fact of why they're talking to Udinski.
And guess
why
what?
they're talking to Shieldhouse. Because they believe that they've got some young talent on this roster, and I believe that, too. I liked what I saw out of Quinshon Judkins when he was healthy. I liked what I saw out of Harold Fannin Jr. in his first year out of the Mid-American Conference. I thought that he showed some things, and I think if you could get a young offensive mind to pair with this young offensive talent, and your general manager just said after he fired the head coach that they were going to spend their resources on the offensive side of the football this year. Well, if I could have a head coach that could be around this thing for the next 10 years and coach up all this premium young offensive talent, that's what I'm after. If I could hire Grant Udinski at 30 and he could coach me until he's 40, that's a win.
I'm sorry. Please tell me all about the Browns' young premium offensive talent that they have.
I just gave you Judkins, Fannin. They got 2 first-round picks that they're going to use on an offensive tackle and a wide receiver.
So they have 2 guys, and that's it. But that is a bevy of young offensive talent at the premium level.
Plus 2 first-round picks this year that are going to be offensive players in all likelihood.
Did we not just have the conversation about why Mike McDaniel didn't come here for an interview? It's because they don't have enough young, premium, offensive talent.
Well, yeah, no kidding. There's no Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I don't think that necessarily exists in Buffalo either, where the owners throwing shots at Keon Coleman, who they spent a first-round draft pick on.
Well, they have Josh Allen, and we don't. Like that's the difference.
And I'm sick of that too. Josh Allen, what's he? Okay, he's lost
an NFL MVP.
And he's lost in the playoffs a ton. He's lost in the playoffs a ton.
You know what? I would give.
So would I.
I would give
But guess what? That's not a reality.
For Josh Allen
That's not a reality, though.
Sign me up. Sign me up for Josh Allen and the results he's brought
That's not a reality,
the Bills.
though. So if you go with somebody like Udinski or Shieldhouse, you're at least telling them, hey, you're going to have this year, and they're in this year, you know what? I'm sorry, it's the truth. There's no great path for finding a quarterback. So you've been wandering this quarterback desert since 1999, and it is starting to get dry, and I'm getting real thirsty, but you're going to have to wander it for one more year, because there's not anybody that's going to be there with the number 6 overall pick. I'm not going to be sold on Ty Simpson out of Alabama.
Wait a minute. I thought you were all about Shedeur Sanders. I thought that
and that's part of this. That's part of this. You've got 2 young quarterbacks that are here in Shedeur who showed promise and Dylan Gabriel who showed pretty much nothing, that you can actually figure out if you have something this year with the revamped offensive line, with a premium wide receiver. And then if that doesn't work, then guess what? You're right back into the well in 2027. And this young offensive-minded head coach will get to call his shot on a QB. Isn't that what we were begging for out of Kevin Stefanski? And he would be the first to tell everybody that he never got a chance to pick his quarterback. Well, here you go. In year 2 with the new head coach, if things don't go well with Shedeur, you could have your new coach pick a new quarterback.
Here's the other problem that I'm having and why I just can't get excited about any of these guys. Because the people doing the hiring are the same people that brought you Rob Chudzinski, Mike Pettin, Hugh Jackson, Freddie Kitchens, and Kevin Stefanski. And Kevin's the most successful of them all.
So we get to just be miserable about it forever.
Well, no, I'm keeping it real. I have very little trust and faith.
Great.
And I'd like someone to come in here that I can have trust and faith in, and that this whole thing can be turned over to, and I know that they're going to turn it around. Because I don't know that any of these guys are going to do it. 216-474-0092, 1 hour down, 3 more to go. We're going to be fighting about who the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns is going to be. Who do you like? Who should it be? Nick Padone would like it to be Deion Sanders. Hi. Wasn't interested in one here in Cleveland. We found that out on Tuesday. But he is going to interview with the Buffalo Bills, according to Albert Breer. Wonder why that is. Didn't want to come to Cleveland. Talk to the Browns, but wants to talk to the Bills.
Dude, you gotta stop.
I wonder why.
You've gotta stop.
Why is that? What do they have that we don't? I mean, they have more snow. The climate is we have a better climate here in Cleveland. Buffalo's a beautiful city, but we have better weather here.
Yeah, that's right.
Not right now, but
Take that, Buffalo. Our weather's better than yours.
I mean, your football team's better. You have a better quarterback. Your stadium's about to be a lot better than ours.
But for a couple of years.
For a couple of years. That's assuming that
we have less foreign objects thrown on our field than they do.
Well, not in the old days, though.
Well, I'm saying things that, I don't have to explain to my children what D-cell batteries are. I do have to explain what other things are.
D-cell batteries, dog biscuits,
beer bottles.
Yeah, the dog pound used to be a time. It used to be very unruly back in the day, and we can't have that type of behavior these days for the safety of everyone. But back in the day, I'm old enough to remember when they had to switch fields at Old Municipal Stadium. They had to switch the ends of the fields because John Elway was just getting absolute blasted by batteries and dog biscuits. What was that, 1988, I think that game was, after the drive? And they were just hammering him with dog biscuits and batteries, so they had to flip ends of the field for player safety. But the Bills have Josh Allen. The Browns don't. And now all of a sudden Mike McDaniel, who did not interview with the Browns because he was going to become Justin Herbert's offensive coordinator in Los Angeles with the Chargers, now all of a sudden is interested in another head coaching job, but it's not in Cleveland, it's in Buffalo.
Okay, and now all of a sudden, though, he's good turning down Baltimore, who has the MVP in Lamar Jackson. He's good turning down Vegas, who's going to have the number 1 overall pick in Fernando Mendoza that just ran the table and won the national championship and the Heisman Trophy. I can't find myself getting all worked up and all depressed that Mike McDaniel doesn't want to come coach the Browns. Okay, that's his prerogative. He didn't want to coach the Browns in 2014 when he was here. He helped Kyle put together the PowerPoint presentation to get them out of town and to get them to Atlanta. That's fine. You don't want to coach here? Guess what? I'll find somebody that wants to coach here. There's only 32 of these jobs, Daryl. Somebody's going to coach this thing.
Well, I will say this. I think that the Browns job is better than the Arizona Cardinals job.
I think it's better than Pittsburgh.
I think it is. I would agree with you. Here's why it's not better than Pittsburgh.
Because they've only had 4 coaches since the 60s. Here we go.
Guess what? That matters. Stability matters.
They gave Kevin Stefanski 6 years. They saw through the process. To the Haslam's credit, they saw through the process of Baker Mayfield to its completion. They saw the process of Deshaun Watson just about as far as they could have possibly seen it. And they saw 2 full projects take place in the Kevin Stefanski era, and they had 1 playoff victory to show for it when Kevin Stefanski was locked in his basement with COVID. So they gave him plenty of runway to coach this football team. I think the next guy coming in knows that the guy before me had 6 years to figure this thing out, and he had 2 full tenure of quarterbacks that he couldn't figure it out with.
I also don't think that they want that big personality. They want to have input on everything, and that's their prerogative. It's their investment. But I'm here to tell you, we've been through it, okay? And when you look at who they've brought in, Rob Chudzinski, Mike Patton, Hugh Jackson, what a disaster that was. Freddie Kitchens, another disaster. It's hard for me to have faith and belief in what they're doing.
So the front office in 2019 and 2020 wanted to hire Kevin Stefanski. They got that wish. Prior to that, when they hired Hugh Jackson, the front office, which Andrew Berry was a part of, by the way, in 2016 with Paul DePodesta, they wanted Sean McDermott. They got hit with the Trump card, and that ultimately ended up being Hugh Jackson because that's what ownership wanted.
But here's the other part of this too, right?
So really, the process has been okay. Sean McDermott's pretty good coach. Kevin Stefanski got 2 Coach of the Years on his shelf, regardless of what you think about him.
I would have no problem if the Browns talked to McDermott. I don't know that.
But I'm saying, who's to say that Shieldhouse or Udinski can't follow in that lineage of McDermott, Stefanski? That's what's next. Because both of those, McDermott and Stefanski, I think you would have to say are quote-unquote successful NFL head coaches. Even though they were just both fired, McDermott has one of the best winning percentages. I think he's got a top 15 winning percentage in the history of the game. And Kevin Stefanski has 2 Coach of the Year awards on his mantle. And he would have been the first guy hired this cycle if it wasn't for Harbaugh getting let go.
And he was able to do that despite all the minefields he had to navigate here. Here's the other part of this, too. Why is Mike McDaniel willing to help out the Buffalo Bills but not help out the Browns? Because
his boy Shanahan has a vendetta on Cleveland.
I'm just saying because, I think Brian Daboll will probably get that job in Buffalo. At least it makes sense. But, McDaniel's going to be one of their Rooney Rule interviews. Like, you mean Mike couldn't do Andrew Berry a favor?
Because I think everybody knows, and I think that's why Jesse Minter canceled yesterday. I think everybody knows what this is. They're hunting experienced coordinators like a Jim Schwartz, like a Todd Monken, but their search is going to come down. Again, like you hear from NFL insider Jordan Schultz that the search is coming down to Shieldhouse or Udinski. Like they're
I said
just about
2 weeks
that
ago
that
those were the names to watch. And here we are 2 weeks later. Those are still the names to watch.
Okay, and you're still sitting here belly aching about it, though.
Yeah, because neither one excite me. Browns fan has been through this time and time again, and you're now asking them for the umpteenth time to sit here and just accept the next guy. Oh, this is the next, because you know what? I'm gonna go back, okay? I'm going to go back. Pat Shurmur was supposed to be the up-and-comer. Okay? Mike Holmgren sold that. Rob Chudzinski was supposed to be the up-and-comer. The Haslam sold that. Joe Banner sold that. Then Mike Pettin was supposed to be the up-and-comer. Right? Got a bloodier nose in the AFC North. Okay?
Shurmur was 45.
Hang on. I'm not done yet. Hugh Jackson, they basically walked that guy in like he was a pharaoh on a float. They literally almost carried him into the building to a hero's welcome.
That was the hottest coach on the cycle that year.
Freddie Kitchens was the up-and-comer. Okay?
And we know why they did that.
Him and Baker were buddies. He was the next up-and-comer. So I'm tired of up-and-comer. Okay? I'm tired of up-and-comer. I've had it.
So what do you want to do? You want to call UNC right now?
You know what?
Get Lombardi on the phone and get Belichick in here? Is that what you want? That's a proven guy.
No.
You want to pull Saban off the desk at ESPN and have him come in here? That's a proven guy.
Not in the NFL, he's not.
You want to start digging up dinosaur bones? That's what it sounds like you want to do. You want to start digging up the grave of all of these old coaches that have been there and done that? Because guess what else is true?
See, you're young. See, you get excited about the unknown and the up-and-comer. I don't.
Because no retread Super Bowl winning head coach has ever won one in his next spot. None of them. So I hope Pittsburgh hires Mike McCarthy. I'll sit back and I'll laugh because it'll be nothing but more first-round playoff burnouts. There has never been a Super Bowl winning head coach that's won one with a different organization. So that's why I'm not sitting here crying a week removed from John Harbaugh telling the Browns no, because I know that it's less than likely that he's going to win a Super Bowl in New York.
I'm just telling you, if you're trusting these people to find the next great up-and-comer that Andrew Berry clearly is looking for, okay, remember, nobody else interviewed Kevin Stefanski but the Cleveland Browns. They did get 6 years out of him. They got 2 playoff appearances out of him, okay, and we don't want to discount that. And part of the reason the last 2 years were just as painful as they were is because of Andrew Berry, who is the guy that's hiring the next one, okay? We don't know what this roster is going to look like on the offensive side of the ball yet because, well, that's a gut job. And part of the reason it's a gut job is because the guy that's hiring the head coach now has to gut it because he messed it up. See, this team was supposed, the whole point of going through 1-31 and 4-44 was so that we wouldn't be sitting here in 2026 going through what we're going through right now. The whole point of going through that was to be what the Buffalo Bills are.
I agree.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, you want to slough off Josh Allen and he hasn't accomplished anything in the playoffs. You know what? I would love to be sitting arguing with you right now about what it's going to take for the Cleveland Browns to get past the divisional round of the playoffs and into the conference championship and competing for a Super Bowl than sitting here debating, is it going to be Grant Udinski? Is it going to be Nate Shieldhouse? Are we getting Jim Schwartzy? Are we going to get unknown Rooney Rule candidate here out of the middle of nowhere? You want Deion Sanders to be the coach? I would rather be arguing about what it's going to take to get to the Super Bowl than arguing about, well, you know what? We shouldn't have won those last two games. We could have had the number one pick.